The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Friday, the end of the first week of the debut of The Right Side on the Real Talk Radio Network. Unfiltered truth, reality, intellectual maturity being dispensed to you at my leisure and with my pleasure. Pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals everywhere. If you're fed up with the mainstream, here you are. We've had General Flynn, David Lee Harris. Today, Eric Trump will be with us. It's Friday, October 10th. And folks, the winds of victory in the Middle East blowing conservative leadership throughout the world. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
That's right, I am your host, and the views and opinions of this host reflect intellectual maturity, and they reflect the place where you should be with regards to the analysis of the state of play in America. Happy to be with you as we wrap up the first week of the debut of the program here on the Real Talk Radio Network. Tell your friends, family, and your radical liberal kook friends who might benefit from being awakened to the truths. Share the Real Talk Radio Network app, please. It's available for your iPhone, or if you've got an Android and you want to support China with an Android, go ahead and do that. But the app is available on both platforms. We will not stop. We will continue to tell you the truth. Got a great letter from YouTube yesterday, and I know that Rick Ellis and others got a similar, if not identical, letter. We made a mistake, the letter said. Right Side with Doug Billings. We made a mistake. Your channel was removed by an error. So this was 4 years ago. I got the letter yesterday, but they canceled me 4 years ago because I was telling the truth about the COVID nonsense and the theft of a certain American presidential election, ladies and gentlemen. 161,000 some odd subscribers. The YouTube monetization platform was great back then. And of course, they give you the channel back. All the subscribers are there, but the monetization's gone. You got to rebuild it from ground zero, right? So I was on their chat help for about an hour trying to drive the point home to a supervisor over there, to no avail, but it is what it is. We're back. So check me out over on YouTube when you get a chance. I retitled the page over there, Welcome to the Right Side. Just look it up over there on YouTube. My name, Doug Billings. So I created another channel during this 4 years, it's much smaller and didn't get nearly the exposure and the reach that the canceled one did. But at any rate, so Jim Jordan, Republicans in Congress and the Senate, thank you for demanding that YouTube restore conservative voices. I appreciate that very much. Also, I must say that some people commented on social media, why are you on YouTube? I refuse to go to liberal-owned not platform where they spew. Well, I understand. I get that. Well, they canceled you, Doug. Why are you giving them viewers and listeners over there? I hear you. Well met. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thanks for having my back. Here's the thing. I'm on YouTube and also, not all, but, YouTube, Facebook, X, Truth Social, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on all of them. And I know you could make a case about the ownership and so forth being liberal for any one of those things. But here's the thing, folks. We have a duty to tell the truth. And we have a calling from God to get the truth to as many people as possible. So I will, the old saying, I'll use the devil to do God's work. That's why. And I make no apologies for being on those platforms. So I encourage you to check out the YouTube channel. There's a lot of, so that's where I got started, YouTube. And I look back at some of those videos that are over there. Holy moly. You know how it is when you look back at your youth and when you were a freshman and when you were brand new and when you didn't know. So some of those videos, there are interviews, and I'm going to leave them up because they're part of the record over there. Conversations with, Charlie Ward. Wow. Wow. Dog, you have to understand that the real Joe Biden is dead and we're watching a dummy and he was executed 3 years ago for war crimes. I mean, that's Charlie Ward, right? So I said, Charlie, you can't come on my show again, man. I can't go down that kookville rabbit hole. So Simon Parks on there. Now, Simon Parks is a kook also, but, I had a friendly banter with Simon, and I didn't let him get into kookville on my show. We just had a friendly banter. It was a Brit and an American yapping away, and I was trying to build an audience, and young and inexperienced and all this, and not fully awake to but I was learning. And when you hear things and you begin to learn things, the waking up process is entertaining, especially when you look back on it. So YouTube is out there. Welcome to the Right Side is the name of that channel. Check it out if you want a good laugh. Hey, if you search long enough on that channel, you'll even see me when I was in corporate America in Nashville, Tennessee. One summer, I hired a studio band in Nashville, and cut a record. So you'll even see me singing a little song over there. So, all right. Well, enough of that. Today, a lot to talk about. Eric Trump on the program. And what a time, given what's going on in the world and in America, to have a Trump on the program. Eric is probably my favorite Trump kid, and I've met him several times on the Clay Clark Reawaken America tour. We've been on the same stage together. He's been on my show prior to me coming here. He's been on the show 3 or 4 times. I'm honored that he's coming on today. He'll talk about what's going on with his dad and the peace deal in Israel. Probably I'll mention Letitia James, and he's got a new book. We'll talk about that. And then, the phone lines will always be open, by the way. Maybe he'll even want to take some calls if you want to get in line for that when he shows up. But Rick and Tracy Ellis started this show, and I'm going to tell Eric this. They started this network, rather, in 2020 when they examined and looked at what was happening in 2020. Much like what I did. I left corporate America, was forced to leave because I would not write, as the VP of HR, would not write policies that would sequester people out of healthcare. I was the VP of HR, and so I got fired for not doing that. And so I started my show as a result of what was going on in 2020, the COVID nonsense, the theft of an American presidential election. And Rick and Tracy did the same thing with the Real Talk radio network. They looked around and said, we've got to have a place where we can tell the truth. And so this network was born. So cheers to them for that. And it has been a lot of work for them. It is not as glamorous as it may appear at times. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, 24/7, 365 that goes on with keeping this thing going. But it is a beacon for truth. And that's what we're all about, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that tees it all up. We'll talk about the peace deal. We'll talk about Letitia. We've got Eric coming up. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. I will return shortly. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Billings from The Right Side. Everybody wants to be on the right side. Everybody. Check me out on YouTube, the channel. Welcome to The Right Side. I'll see you over there. Cheers.
And we're on the right side of every single issue. We're on the right side of God. We're on the right side of the Constitution. We're on the right side of, respect for America, which we demand from other countries, especially when we do so much for all.
See what I mean? Everybody. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Love that Elvis bumper music. Love it. If we ever get together, ladies and gentlemen, for a beer or an adult beverage of your choice, and if there's a karaoke bar nearby, let me know. I'll join you, and I'll sing a little Elvis with you. Truly, I will. Promise you that. And I'll win. I'll win the contest. Hey, okay, so the biggest story shaking the world right now obviously remains President Trump's new peace plan for the Middle East. And it's not just another diplomatic memo going out among the desks of the leaders of the world. It really represents a seismic shift that's already rewriting history. You cannot understate what's going on here, folks. And I want to be clear about this. It is the most significant peace deal, more than the Abraham Accords, more than, the Anwar Sadat and Jimmy Carter, Camp David. And all of those are important. And I give Jimmy Carter credit for that. But this is magnificently more substantial than that. If we think about it for a moment, for decades, we've watched the liberal and rhino weak-kneed politicians tiptoe around this Israel Hamas conflict, throwing money at the problem without offering any real solutions, leaving pallets of cash and tier 1 American military equipment over in the Middle East, the debacle in Afghanistan, where now the Taliban, who still has that tier 1 American military equipment, is better armed than many of our allies in that. So we've seen this abject failure for decades. And I'm telling you that there are Republicans and liberal Democrats responsible. Rhinos. Now, Trump comes along, the businessman president, the peace president, and he's delivered this framework that's so bold and practical, and it's rooted in strength, not appeasement, not money, not just free money. And at its core, this plan demands that Hamas must totally disarm. Now, I know, none of us trust Hamas as far as we can spit. I get it. That it secures Israel's borders like never before, and it ties United States aid, when we begin to give it, to verifiable peace commitments from all sides. There's going to be this board of peace, as Trump calls it. Now, this is not liberal communist-socialist appeasement. This is accountability. And the ripple effects are incredible. Now, when I say the word accountability, let me be clear about something. Accountability is not retribution. Accountability is not revenge. We are conservative Americans. We are rooted in the foundations of the founding fathers, and more importantly, we are rooted in the concept of truth and intellect. You have people out there who sit behind a microphone for the past 5 years or so, have been shouting about retribution, revenge, perp walks, and all of this. We are not after. That's not reality. Now, we may see perp walks for some. We might, but to depend on that, be careful, please. Be careful. We are not after myth and flim-flam nonsense. Oh, but Doug, I remember this one, for example, when Trump lost in 2020. I know. When he was ripped off, okay, when it was stolen from him. Oh, but Doug, he signed some executive orders before he left office. And those executive orders are going to be able to usher him back in before 2024. In the meantime, the military is in charge of our country, and President Trump is still acting as president. The devolution theory. Remember that nonsense? The guy who put that out, I won't mention his name, but he made a lot of money on a big fat lie. And there was nothing, we got to remember the plan. There is a plan here, all that nonsense. I am telling you, that's nonsense, and it always has been. We deal in truth. There is no way that he's coming back before 2024. The plan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this simply and truthfully. The plan, meaning the plan to get our country back and to restore President Trump, is us. The plan is we the people. The plan is our involvement in determined patriotism in our local levels of government. That's the plan. And for decades, Republicans, if we're honest with ourselves, have not followed the plan because we weren't thoroughly engaged in our local levels of government. Now, when we saw what happened in 2020, multiple millions of us became awake and we did become involved. But we've got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I say that because still today, so many people out there trying to get clicks for cash instead of credibility. And so use your good God-given discretion in moments like this. So the ripple effects for this peace deal. For Israel, it means ironclad security, finally, against terror tunnels and rocket barrages. And I know every time I say that, I know because people don't trust Hamas, and rightly so. There might be a rogue group out there, a radicalized rogue group that decides, well, screw this, I'm going to launch missiles anyway. I get that. But Hamas as an organization is what we're talking about here. And we will see together if they abide by the agreement. We'll see. But the agreement that they've signed and the fact that it's been signed off and we've now completed phase 1, we're going into phase 2. This is monumental. For the United States, it slashes the spending of endless wars, the money, the lives, freeing up resources for us at home. And then globally, for the other players and interests involved, it isolates the rogue states like Iran, starving their proxy wars of any oxygen. Trump already took out their nuclear capability with deep bomb strikes. No other Republican president, and certainly no current living liberal, is capable of any of this. This is what real conservative leadership looks like. Trump stepping in where others have failed, forging alliances that actually stick. But here's where it gets really profound, in my opinion. So this achievement underscores that Trump is the most substantial president in our lifetime. There is no debating this. Now, substantial, okay? Like him or hate him, you've got to admit, I mean, liberals out there, and I know that you trolls watch the program and you spout off on social media. The most substantial president in our lifetime. No liberal anywhere in our government can accomplish what President Trump has done. No fluff, no empty rhetoric, just results that echo, to a degree, the decisive moves that Reagan made when he dismantled the Soviet Union. Much more to talk about this peace accord and what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. I'll be right back. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, maybe one day we can play that song when Comey goes to prison, right? That'd be great. It would be great to see that. Accountability and truth, and finally some sense of justice in this country. But I digress. Saying hello to the people on Facebook. I see you, Rose. You said good day, Doug, and I said, why? Good day, Rose. I didn't ask you why are you saying good day. I said, why? Good day to you, Rose. As good day to you also, Rose. Anyway, John Wick, I see you out there as well. Thank you for your support, and thanks for driving people over to the YouTube channel. I appreciate you. Elaine and all of the regular crew over there. Clement, I see you as well. Thanks, guys. Yeah, they're watching us live over on Facebook. We're on Rumble and other places as well, but the Real Talk Radio Network is everywhere, and it can be with you wherever you are if you get the app. make sure you get the Real Talk Radio app. Look for the American Eagle. That's for your iPhone or Android device, and you can listen to us from wherever. So Trump's deal, historic. Can't talk enough about it. It's on my mind. I want to explain to you why I feel this way, because I want us to be able to understand clearly the importance of what we have witnessed this week, which is something that no one in this country has ever really witnessed before, ever. More substantial than what Reagan did, more substantial than what Jimmy Carter did. Yes, I know. Jimmy Carter has at least one good thing, the Camp David Accords. Other than that, I was convinced that Jimmy Carter was staying alive just so that he could see Joe Biden become the worst president in American history. So maybe some truth to that. I don't know. Talk about motivation. But they are liberals today, and most of our rhino class, they just can't do what Trump has done here. They just can't pull it off. Why is that? Because their worldview, the radical liberal worldview, is mired in moral relativism, equating terrorists with victims. That's what they do, prioritizing things like virtue signaling over victory. You know what? One of the key virtue signals that still remain with us since the COVID nonsense that the radical liberal movement now has adopted as part of their uniform, if you will, this commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, the mask. Virtue, the mask has never, with regards to what we saw in COVID, the mask was never about your health. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not a doctor, but I spent a lot of years in the healthcare industry as the VP of HR, and I observed surgeries because I wanted to understand what the surgeons were doing so that I could better talk with them when it came time to renegotiate their collective bargaining agreements with the unions, these multi-billion-dollar deals that I negotiated. So I've been in there, and I asked about the mask before COVID, because I'm curious, what is the real purpose of the mask and the garb and the getup? I mean, I understand, sterile environments. Are you worried that you're going to give them a germ or you're going to get, she says, oh no, it has nothing to do with stopping the transmission of germs. I just don't want their stuff flying up in my face. So, okay, get it. Understood. Thank you. Enough said. So the mask is not about health. Never has been. At the beginning, it was a sign of animus. If you're from Raytown, Missouri, that means hate towards President Trump. And it was part of their resist movement, not their uniform. You wear the mask. You're one of us. Look at what's going on in Portland, Seattle, and Chicago. See the people wearing the masks? It's not because they don't want to be identified necessarily, because since COVID, by the way, cameras have an AI. They can identify you if you're wearing a surgical mask. They're wearing it because that's their uniform. I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if someone you see is wearing a mask today, they're part of the radical liberal movement. Virtue signaling. Liberals have botched every foreign policy endeavor from Afghanistan to the Ukraine, and they leave chaos in their wake. But you know what? I say it, and you've heard me say it this week. The chaos that results is purposeful. It's not accidental. They want chaos because they think that it drives, what is it, students? They think it drives us to believe that the big government is the only way out. And that's precisely why they are so hell-bent on destroying President Trump, because he stands in the way of their big government radical liberal swamp. He represents the death throngs for their kook liberal movement. The end of open borders, the end of endless entitlements and globalist giveaways. Can you imagine the anger behind closed doors with regards to what liberals are saying to each other? We got to stop him. And they've tried. It was born the moment he came down the golden escalator, the resist movement. Trump's draining the swamp in real time, and he's showing us. If you've ever wondered what draining the swamp looks like, look at him. Look at what's going on. Exposing the deep state rot. And they cannot stand it. And they are under orders to never say anything positive about the man at all. Under orders. This peace plan just isn't a win for Israel. It's a blueprint for American greatness everywhere in the world. It can work in Congo and Nigeria, where the Muslims are butchering Christians and burning villages. And there's historical context that's important. And it does relate, and it does help us in Jefferson City, in Topeka, Kansas, in Boise, Idaho. It helps us, and I'll explain. So in terms of history, if you all remember, if you're students of history and you've followed this kind of thing for any period of time, the Oslo Accords, the endless shuttle of diplomacy back and forth that went absolutely nowhere, led and managed by liberals and rhinos. Trump's approach here draws from the success of the Abraham Accords, which normalized, this is key, the Abrams Accord normalized relations between Israel and nations like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco. And so deals that bypassed the old playbook of endless Palestinian vetoes. Hear me out, and I'm not degrading the Palestinian cause at all. Hear me out on this. I'm talking about what went on during diplomacy in terms of what happened in the past. The new plan builds on the Abraham Accord by directly addressing Hamas, forcing them to choose peace or oblivion, irrelevance. It's historic because it achieves normalization without the preconditions that stalled progress for generations. There's no preconditions. Trump gave an ultimatum. Take it or leave it. Take it or you will be destroyed. And for the United States and for us, it means stronger economic ties. Think about booming trade in tech and in energy that benefits American workers in Missouri, in Kansas, wherever. My friends, this is conservatism at work. Practical, principled, powerful. This is what President Trump is good at. Now, this drives the other side crazy. And I understand even people on our side. I have conservative friends who go, yeah, if he just wouldn't be so rough around the edges. Okay. I mean, I like Trump. I like the rough around the edges. I like that he's not politically correct. Believe me. But if we can just, no one and nothing is perfect. If you can just stomach the rough around the edges, look what he's doing here. Look what has happened. This is more historic on so many more levels than what we've ever seen before. Brokering direct talks that sideline Hamas and Hamas enablers, people who may fund them, and it empowers moderate Arab states, by the way. It's historic because it shatters the myth that peace requires endless concessions from Israel alone, usually, right? Instead, Trump flips the script here. Hamas has got to renounce violence outright or total isolation, total oblivion. For the United States, energy independence amplified. Our alliances more secure, cheaper oil begins to flow, undercutting OPEC's grip on it all. Our own independence with energy gets better. And for the world at large, it dials down nuclear tensions because of Iran's lost influence in the region. Iran crumbles without Hamas and vice versa. This is the stuff of legends, I am telling you. Trump deserved, now, he didn't get the Nobel Prize this year. And let me just comment on that real quickly. We didn't expect the Nobel Prize this year, but next year, because the running and the voting was pretty much already done. Some Venezuela, I'm going to forget her name, but at any rate, readily available, look it up. But the voting and so forth was already pretty much done by the time this peace deal became, part of the world debate. So maybe, next year, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't hang my hat on that, but, it'd be nice. It certainly has been given to people who have done less. Obama got it just for showing up and giving a speech. Really. Trump's earned it. Sweat, strategy, diplomacy, conservatism. He's the architect of peace through strength. Peace through strength, proving that America leads when we project power, not apologies. We don't go on world apology tours. But that's the left's hypocrisy. The radicals who claim to champion peace, frothing at the mouth over all of this. And why are they so angry? Because it exposes their failures. 100%. They couldn't negotiate their way out of a paper bag, too busy pandering to the anti-Israel crowd out there and virtue signaling on social media about all of it and projecting, gaslighting. Trump's success terrifies them. Literally, it's the beginning of the end of their socialist fantasies. And we've got J.D. Vance waiting in the wings. We'll have a Republican in the White House for the next 12 years, God willing, and he's draining the swamp of career bureaucrats who profit from perpetual conflict. And so they lash out. Lawsuits, smear campaigns, lawfare. We've seen it. We've seen it all. Folks, the plan is a wake-up call. Conservatism delivers where liberalism flounders. It is that simple. Let's add some unique analysis here, because that's what I do, giving you what you won't see or hear in the mainstream. Consider how the plan reshapes global alliances, for example, by linking our economic incentives to security pacts like this one. Trump creates a web of mutual benefit for all involved that really discourages backsliding into the old way of things. For instance, countries like Saudi Arabia, they're eyeing similar deals for themselves, and they want Trump's assistance. They have skin in the game, especially against the Iranian, the aggression that they have shown. It's not just diplomacy either, ladies and gentlemen. It's economic warfare on terrorism's sponsors. And why can't the left replace any of that? Their appeasement of Iran, first of all, lifting sanctions instead of giving them, sending cash, as I mentioned earlier, the tier one American military equipment left on purpose in Afghanistan emboldened Hamas in the first place. It's so easy to see this. If we could just have a moment with the radical liberal who still might have a shred of common intellect, common sense, I'm convinced that there's no other conclusion people can draw about this. The radical liberal mob is trapped in a cycle of weakness, and this is evident especially in the radical liberal elected class. Unable to grasp great ideas like strength endures enemies. Really? It's that easy? They can't get it, and they don't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back as we wrap up the first hour. Eric Trump coming up next hour. Stay with me. God bless you. Cheers. I'll be back.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Billings from The Right Side. Everybody wants to be on the right side. Everybody. Check me out on YouTube, the channel. Welcome to The Right Side. I'll see you over there. Cheers.
And we're on the right side of every single issue. We're on the right side of God. We're on the right side of the Constitution. We're on the right side of, respect for America, which we demand from other countries, especially when we do so much for all.
See what I mean? Everybody. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings, where the rumors are true. I take a great amount of delight in pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals everywhere. It's a true story, true. I'm seeing from our friend John Wick on Facebook, he's watching and listening to us over there, that the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize has dedicated it to Donald Trump. I've got to verify that. If that's true, that's outstanding. That's incredible. But not verified, but it's posted on our Facebook feed, and I'll from one of our listeners. So we'll see about that. We'll see if it's true. Not doubting John, I'm sure, but we'll trust but verify. Trust but verify. Okay, Trump. As we close out this hour, and look forward to having his son Eric with us. What a time! What a time to have Eric Trump, one of the Trumps, on our program, given what's going on in the country and around the world. His father, President Trump, the most substantial president in the history of this country. I'm not saying best, I'm saying most substantial. There's a I wouldn't put him above George Washington. But Trump's in the top 3 to 5 in my opinion, but given what he's done, given what he represents, a return to the intent of the founding fathers, peace through strength, common sense, a business acumen. This reminds me, once upon a time I made a run for governor, and I told people I've got the exact same experience the founding fathers had, because they would ask what's your experience? What's your experience in government? Da, da, da. I have the exact same experience as the founding fathers, which we should all have, which we should all want from our modern day elected class. And that experience is, I've never been in politics before. So I have the same experience the founding father, and that's Trump. And he's bringing us back. He's a business, most all of the 56 founding fathers. Yes, there are 56 founding fathers, the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, the founding fathers. Most of them were wealthy, not all of them, but most of them were. They had businesses, farms, etc. And this is Trump, modern day founding father, returning to the intent of the founders. I think so. So, when we see what he's done with combining vision with action, it would make sense for someone to donate the Nobel Peace Prize to him as an example. But unlike the efforts that rewarded bad behavior from the radical left, this effort from President Trump, in fact, his entire style, is one that enforces America first. And in the Middle East, now we have a deal that will demilitarize zones in Gaza. U.S.-led technology will be used. It will be purchased, not just given away, to root out and put away with. We don't need to deal with the toothless United Nations anymore, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why our technology, our stuff, will be used to monitor what's going on in Gaza, not the United Nations. I hope to goodness that before the end of his term, President Trump withdraws the United States from the United Nations. I really do hope so. Not NATO. We still need NATO. NATO's still vital and plays a purpose. Now, Trump's gotten them under control, and that's good. We've got a lot of work to do there too. But the UN, no. And so for Israel, it guarantees recognition from holdout nations, which would then, of course, boost trade and tech partnerships. The economic benefits behind this don't get enough attention in the mainstream. It's huge, and it does affect us. It benefits us. And Hamas, they're now cornered. Disarm or dissolve. And when I say dissolve, I mean you'll be obliterated if you don't disarm. And so how can you doubt Trump's resolve after the bunker buster bombs that were dropped in Iran? So now there's reconstruction aid flowing in only to civilian rebuilds, not to terror networks. And the United States benefits like no other time in our history from all of this. Look, reduced troop deployments, saving billions of dollars every year, reinvested in our borders and our infrastructure. Worldwide, new era of stability. Democracies, again, are out in front of the autocrats. It's historic on a scale that we haven't seen since Camp David, but Trump's version is tougher and it's smarter. That's why I believe he's the most substantial president that we've ever had, outpacing the greats by turning chaos into order without even firing a shot. A Nobel Peace Prize in the future, absolutely deserved. It's recognition for a leader who prioritizes results over trophies. Now, why can't the radical left match that? Because their ideology is bankrupt, morally corrupt, obsessed with equality over excellence. They appease the aggressors out there, my friends, instead of confronting them. It's absolutely, it just is so irritating to look at and to realize we've had to endure this incompetence of purposeful nonsense. Look at the liberal track record, my friends. Botched Iran deals, emboldening Hamas with pallets of cash, tier one American military equipment, incapable of delivering peace that requires resolve, not relativism. And that's why they target Trump. Again, the witch hunts, the lawfare, he's dismantling their power structure, draining the swamp. If you've ever wondered what it looks like, here it is. Draining it of corrupt elites who thrive on division. The plan signals the twilight era of the liberal kook mob. No more identity politics that would trump our own national security. No more swamp creatures pulling strings for deals that give money to the big guy. You know what I mean? Jerry Bailey, I see you out there on Facebook. Thank you, my friend, for listening and watching. Thank you. John, I saw your post as well about the Nobel Prize. I'll look that up during the upcoming break, and we'll break that news here. Let me take a look at the link first. But ladies and gentlemen, Trump's vision is a vision for the future, a world where America leads, and there's nothing immoral about that. That's not an ego statement. America has a calling by God to lead, to show the world what a moral society can do, because in the words of John Adams, this country, this Constitution, this government is wholly and purposefully devised for a moral people. It cannot function with anything else. We must return to the intent of the founding fathers. We've got to, for the sake of this republic. And the other side, the radical liberal movement, has literally excommunicated God from their platform. We must honor the holy state if you're a liberal. No more identity politics. No more of that nonsense. The woke DEI agendas are gone. Trump's vision is the future. And I was saying, it's not immoral. It's not an ego statement to say America needs to be the leader here. We are the only nation capable of doing it, and we're called by God to do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the first hour. Now in the can, as we say. I will be back after the news break, the top of the hour break, news and weather. Stay with me. Enjoy the trip into capitalism, and please support our sponsors. I'll be right back. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
And just like that, the right side is back and upon you, ladies and gentlemen. And right here, where truth, honor, conservative values, and intellectual maturity rain down upon us all like manna from heaven. And it is true. I checked over the break. Thank you, John Wick. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who is the 2025, now just announced today, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize winner for her efforts to promote democracy and fight dictatorship in Venezuela, has dedicated the award in part to United States President Donald Trump. In a statement on X shortly after the announcement, she wrote, quote, "I dedicate this prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support to our cause." Way to go. She highlighted Trump's role as a key ally in the struggle of freedom and democracy in the region. And wow, that's just so nice. First of all, so nice of her to do that. And so incredibly So incredibly huge. That is a huge deal, ladies and gentlemen. And it you know, look, I'm going to end where I began. I we've got some things to talk about. Letitia James, we're going to have Eric Trump on here in a moment. This is what I'm talking about. And I think that when we look at what Trump is doing, Venezuela, the support of freedom and democracy, the Gaza, Israel, Hamas, peace deal, it's his imagination. And I'll use a specific example to highlight this. Trump can imagine these things. He imagines his end game, his results. And every good, you know, they call them life coaches. I hate that term. But when athletes, for example, I don't know, I know that I don't look like it now, but in my youth, I was a competitive swimmer and did pretty damn well at it. Missouri State swimmer of 1978, in fact. So you're taught to imagine yourself winning, imagine where you want to be, and Trump can do it. And I'm going to use an example, Gaza specifically. Now, I know you look at Gaza today and it's a refugee crisis. There's tent cities. It looks terrible. But if you can imagine what it could look like, they've got beautiful oceanfront property, crystal clear water. The climate is gorgeous. Imagine what this peace deal will do. The development that will be led by American ingenuity and tech and construction and products, hotels, businesses, and how that bolsters everybody. The rising tide lifts all ships. Israel, Hamas, Palestine, and the rest of the world. You cannot understate the importance of this. It's absolutely gorgeous real estate and will be developed. And that's the imaginative piece of what Trump brings also to all of this. It's strategic for us. We become now, and listen, this is important. We become now an indispensable broker, not a global police force. Do you see how important that is? Contrast that with Biden's fumbles, with Obama's weak sanctions, who ignored red lines, leading all of that, by the way, all of what Obama and Biden did had direct lineage to what happened in the barbaric attacks on October 7th, just 2 years ago. And yet the left and their media allies downplay Trump's significance and his wins because admitting them would crumble their narrative. But facts don't care about feelings, ladies and gentlemen. Trump's deals, just like the Abraham Accords, uniting former enemies. It proves that peace is possible without coddling the tyrants. Trump is not just substantial, he's transformative. And so he's been, the Nobel Prize has been dedicated to him this year by the winner. Very nice gesture. Next year, perhaps he'll win it. Oh, we will see. Now, again, I don't hang my hat on that, but we will see. I think earning the Nobel Prize through deeds that echo Lincoln's resolve instead of FDR's, alliances is what we should be looking at. But there's pure envy going on the radical left. They're envious. They're jealous. They're confounded. They don't know what to do. They have lost all source of self-identity. They don't know what they're doing. The people that we see that they continue to put forward are just laughing stocks. Laughing stocks. They have done no reasonable self-reflection on why they've lost the last presidential election and why they continue. And here we are. All right. Well, so let's talk. We've got Eric Trump coming up in moments, and the Letitia James indictment. I laugh. I know. I'm sorry. It has come full circle now, hasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? New York Attorney General Letitia, I need to eat a salad, James. Yes, she's the same one who made a career. She made her career out of waging lawfare and hounding President Trump with baseless civil suits has now been federally indicted on mortgage fraud charges. The same stuff she was trying to pin on Trump. It's not just irony. No, not just irony. It's divine justice. This is the sweeping hand of the providence. It's the hand of, I'm telling you, the indictment that was unsealed yesterday. Have you read it? You should. In Virginia's Eastern District, it accuses her of falsifying mortgage documents to secure favorable loans on properties that she was buying or trying to buy. Inflated values in ways that mirror exactly the tactics that she weaponized against our president. From Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, and other properties in the Trump organization. My friends, it's a watershed moment. A radical leftist prosecutor who campaigned on getting Trump rather than upholding the law. Well, she's now looking at 20 years, ladies and gentlemen. First court date coming up on October 24th. It'll be in Norfolk. And the probe aggressively, thankfully, being pushed by the Trump Justice Department, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, others. It exposes the hypocrisy that is at the heart of the anti-Trump crusade. You know what? You look at what Letitia James did. Her witch hunt cost taxpayers millions of dollars, all the while allegedly playing fast and loose with her own finances over here. And what you won't hear in the mainstream, this is not payback, ladies and gentlemen. This is the system self-correcting. It proves truly that no one, not even self-righteous attorneys general, are above the law. The difference here is that our side isn't making stuff up or ginning up the charges. The radical left's lawlessness, this boomerang that they threw out, has now hit home. And when you take a look at the timeline, just real quick, just to get some clarity, Letitia James launched her campaign or her Trump investigation in 2019, my friends, right after she gave an election speech coming out, running for her position as Attorney General, that said she promises that she's going to get Trump. Now, fast forward to 2023, there's a massive civil judgment. It's appealed, and there is partisan abuse there. It's symbolic of that. And in 2020, that's against Trump. And in 2025, Trump is back. He's in office. The Department of Justice flipping the script here. Again, evidence from bank records show that Letitia James alleged overvaluations on her personal loans. It's factual. It's not lawfare. This is law and order. Blue state rot. This is how, you ever wonder how politicians get rich? This is how they do it. Of course, they break the law. Happens on both sides. Prosecution is alleging that she overstated her asset value to snag lower rates, a scheme that could, I think, invoke bank fraud charges, wire fraud counts. It's all in the indictment. It's a parallel to her Trump case. It's uncanny. It's beautiful. And she accused him of doing the same kinds of things. Hers made up, ours truthful. All right. More on that when we get back. And don't forget Eric Trump coming up at the bottom of the hour. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. I'll be right back. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings from smack dab in the middle. I had to let that play a little bit. I'm over here singing to myself. The best bumper music in the country. Thank you, Zach, in the booth with me today. Thank you for the duration. We have Eric Trump coming up shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us. Letitia James. What a kook. What a kook, and how sweet it is to see. I want to remind you, suing Trump relentlessly. And you know what? You know, people look at, it's one thing to just look at the legal stuff that goes on in TV. But if you take a moment to read between the lines of the news stories, her lawsuits, her frivolous, lawfare, baseless lawsuits racked up $454 million in judgments. Okay. Now that's all being appealed, and Trump will win on these appeals. You'd better believe it. He's got like a 900 batting average. He wins almost every appeal. And with Trump back in power, now the spotlight is on Letitia, and the spotlight is blinding because it's real and it's truthful. It's not made up lawfare. Ladies and gentlemen, this indictment shatters the myth of the leftist moral superiority. If we would all just be wise and strong and determined enough to shout this, share it, and talk about it, because we're not going to get any help from the legacy media. That's for darn sure. Their resistance movement, that was always projection, always accuse others of your own sins. When they would talk about what Trump stood for, it's projection, it's gaslighting. So Letitia's fall signals the end of the weaponized justice system. Conservatism's push for accountability is prevailing. And again, I want to say a few more words about accountability because it's important. Far too many conservative influencers or podcasters have profited off of clickbait from Kookville. Conservative accountability. Please listen and meet these words where they are. Conservative accountability. When we conservatives are after accountability, we must know and recognize that conservative accountability is not revenge. That's the radical left mob's take and their agenda. Conservative accountability won't be retribution. People out there saying, I want to lead the Department of Retribution. I mean, conservative accountability won't always mean that we see perp walks. Now, we may sometimes. Conservative accountability won't be based on abject lies like the theory of devolution that I mentioned in the first hour, a theory that basically said, don't worry, President Trump put executive orders in place during his first term that will usher him back in on chariots of fire into Washington, back into the Oval Office. And by the way, the military is still in charge. And did you know President Trump is really still the acting president? That kind of BS was everywhere. And it was only there because people would put it out to get clicks to make money. Clickbait from Kookville, ladies and gentlemen. It irritates me because we lose credibility as an independent source of truth when other people are doing that. Yeah, the military has controlled. Trump is coming back. Wow, what a deal. Stay away from the kooks, my friends. That's my advice. Stay away from the... All right, back to the topic. So implications for Letitia James. I can't wait to get Eric Trump's take on this. It could... The implications could cascade to other people. Remember Alvin Bragg? Fannie Willis? They're going to be facing their own scrutiny here. The action that we're taking, that Trump's Department of Justice is taking, is a deterrent from law for anybody, Republican or Democrat, to conduct lawfare. Partisan lawfare backfires every time. When I see it, when I look at this, when I give you my analysis, Letitia James' accusations eroded public trust. It turned the AG role into vendetta machines, and we've got to be on guard so that we conservatives don't do the same. Our accountability cannot be vendettas. That is not the intent of the founding fathers, and it has nothing to do with providence. We will prevail because we are embedded and wrapped in truth. And we get to truth by understanding the intent of the founding fathers. We get to truth by understanding that this nation is a Christian nation. Now, not a Christian government, but a nation that's founded on Christian values. The founding fathers had no intent to allow vast arrays of other, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it out loud. The founding fathers had no intent for Muslims to take over America. The founding fathers had no intent for a Hindu Bible to be in public schools or a Muslim Quran. They had the intent of a Christian Bible to be in the schools. Now, people who come into this country are welcome to practice their religion, but they have to assimilate into the society. What we see in some pockets of this country from certain ethnic groups and some religious factions is non-assimilation, purposeful non-assimilation. And we've allowed it to happen too long. Now, that might be, I'm on a tangent, but my point is that we as conservatives win when we return to the roots of our foundation, the founders and God, and the intent of both. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with me. Eric Trump coming up.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings upon you, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And here we are. An honor to have Eric. Can I call you a friend? We've met several times on the road with Clay Clark. It's an honor to have you here. Here you are.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it, my friend. It's great to be on.
Hey, I want to tell you something. This is the Real Talk Radio Network. It was founded in 2020 by Rick and Tracy Ellis, who, as a result of what they saw your father go through in 2020, they decided that America needs a voice. We need to get the truth out there. So they founded this network because of the inspiration and the nonsense that your father had to go through.
Yeah. Well, we all had to go through that nonsense. My father went through more nonsense than anybody that you can possibly imagine. And it's beautiful. If you look at kind of what we've gone through, but then you look at the results last night, right, between the peace in the Middle East, so many of these great things that are happening, energy prices falling, inflation falling, our country being respected around the world, Christianity saved, God saved in this country, the family unit being prioritized again, so many great things that are happening. The entire fight was worth it.
I just spent an hour talking about this deal in Gaza, Israel, Hamas. And Eric, I have said, and I'll say it again, your father is the most substantial president this country has ever had. There is absolutely no one on both sides of the aisle, and certainly no one in the liberal left, that could ever come close to accomplishing this. We have stopped the radical liberal appeasement of our enemies and now held them accountable. It's the most significant peace accord in the history of the planet, and he's the most significant president in our country. And I've said it many times, not saying it just because you're here. I believe it.
Yeah, listen, I do too. The values of this country were getting flushed down the toilet. You had incompetent people who were running our country. In fact, I'm not even sure if we know who was running our country under the auto pen scandals and everything else that was happening. As sad as that is to say, you had Biden who couldn't make it through a coherent sentence. I mean, he couldn't answer a question, couldn't make it through a coherent sentence. And you had a mainstream media in this country that's propping the guy up, every single day. And, all of a sudden we had the greatest political victory in modern history, and look at the difference. I mean, look at the difference. I mean, even look at the military. I mean, you had the worst recruiting numbers in the history of the military when Biden left. And about 3 months later, you have the best numbers in the history of the military as testosterone was actually restored and people wanted to fight under a commander-in-chief that they knew would take care of them and would be behind them. And it's just amazing. I mean, every single kind of quantifiable, metric in this country has just changed, in a 9-month period of time. And, I just can't say enough how much better as a nation we are for it.
We also noticed today with some irony, but also with a sweet sense of and a taste of justice. And I got to talk to you about it just for a minute. And I want to get to your book. I know you've got a book, Under Siege. But Letitia James, the nonsense of lawfare that she waged against President Trump, coming back to Hunter, and the irony, the audacity of what she charged her dad with is exactly what she's been doing. Thoughts on that?
Doug, I was right in the middle of that case, and I can't tell you how brutal it was. I mean, she charged. She had a $600 million judgment on a company for doing absolutely nothing wrong, because she had a crooked judge, right? And we've had it overturned. 5-0 got overturned at the appellate division in New York, including the presiding judge of the state of New York. $600 million, and we had every bank go up and testify, that they'd never had a better borrower, that we were one of the best real estate companies out there, that they've made hundreds of millions of dollars off of us, that that we were the big whale, they called us, that we are a platinum borrower, could not have had a better customer for the bank, loved the relationship, no defaults, no breaches, fined us $600 million again, which all got overturned out of a vendetta. She promised to go into the office of Attorney General every single day, sue Trump, and go home. Those were her exact words. She campaigned on the promise of being a real pain in the ass. That's what she said, right? I'm going to be a real pain in his ass. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get his family. And, it's amazing about the Democrats. They often dig so deep that they find themselves. And I think that's exactly what happened with Letitia James. So I don't like these games. I don't like time wasted in courts. I don't like any of this stuff. But what she did, she's a horrible person. What she did to us was unthinkable. She drove a great company out in New York, where when I finally said, it's not worth it. It's not worth being there. I'll go down to South Florida. It's not worth being in the state anymore. And that breaks my heart, because I love New York State, and the business community in that state deserves a person who's going to, keep clean streets and go after criminals and go after bad people, not have political vendettas against their political opponents.
We agree, and I can't imagine, as you lead the Trump organization and that you had to do all of that and go through that to defend an innocent company against lawfare. I hope that Alvin Bragg and Fani Willis get the same sweet sense of accountability, and that we can put this behind us. It's just been, and Eric, and I what your family had to go through, I can't imagine. But when we read between the lines of all of this, also the taxpayers, the wasted money, how dare they do that?
I mean, listen, Alvin Bragg shut down all of New York, all of Lower Manhattan, the FDR Drive every single day, for 6 months for a $130,000 payment, which was totally legal, made by a lawyer that my father didn't even sign, and charged him with 34 felony counts, again, all of which have been overturned at this point. Over $130,000, like no one buys it, right? Al Capone got charged with one felony, and this is Al Capone. My father got charged with 34 over $130,000. Give me a break. No one believes it. And honestly, it's a lawfare that actually elected Donald Trump president. As conservatives, we're able to see in the moments of adversity, challenge, and tragedy, blessings that are waiting to be born. That liberals cannot do that. That's why they react by having Soros buy and deliver pallets of rocks, bricks, and stones to street corners so they can throw them through storefront windows. But we know, in the midst of it all, there's blessing waiting to be born, and perhaps the blessing, or one of them at least, perhaps maybe it's the Democrat Party that really doesn't even exist anymore, Eric. I mean, I call it the Communist Socialist Party. Clearly not a pro-America political party. They purposefully plan chaos everywhere. Portland, Seattle. You and I have been to Portland for the Reawaken America tour. We've been to various cities throughout the country. We see it. We go there on purpose, and there's no other conclusion that anyone with any shred of intellectual maturity can draw other than to say, you know what, they're right. Eric and Doug, they're right. It's purposeful chaos. And your father is the target because he represents and he is the end of the swamp. Let me get your take on that. Well, that's right. I mean, every single day. I mean, I saw one of the Democrats the other day, fighting against the fact that my father's taking out drug boats as they run fentanyl into, California and into the United States of America. I mean, I personally have 4 friends that have lost children to fentanyl, right? And you have Democrats that are coming out there saying, how dare you blow up these boats? I mean, I can't believe it. These people didn't get, due process or whatever the hell their argument is. And I'm sitting there saying, you have these skiffs that are flying northward filled with burlap sacks of drugs, which is going to poison our youth and kill thousands of people. I mean, that's how radical the Democrats have done. And, it's the same thing when you have, women men my size swimming in women's sports, 6'5" guys swimming in women's sports. And you have the same thing with the DEI nonsense, all over the place. I mean, people are sick and tired of it. And the Democrats have run away from the average person. They have no leadership. They've got no message. And, I think the party's all but dead.
Eric, let's talk about your book, Under Siege. Let me tee it up by saying this. I think Barack Obama, the first American president who dared to say one of the most un-American campaign slogans I have ever heard, the most un-American, America needs to be fundamentally transformed. Remember, as soon as I heard that, I knew that we were under siege. I knew that they wanted to transform us fundamentally away from the intent of the founding fathers and the divine providence of God. Yeah. But let's talk about your book. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Under Siege, it went to #1 on Amazon. It's doing incredibly well. I mean, I really think people in this country are making a statement. I know they're making a statement based on book sales. It's skyrocketing, and it's been unbelievable. It's been so well received. But listen, I think you saw the fight that our family went through to save this country. Yep. Whether it's the dirty dossiers, whether it's the impeachment #1, impeachment #2, the Russia hoax, which I was right in the middle of. I mean, literally saying that we had secret servers communicating with the Kremlin in the basement of Trump Tower. It was all lies. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for not doing a damn thing wrong. Every AG, every DA, every gag order that they put on our family, taking us off of ballots, in Maine and in Colorado, weaponizing every aspect of the system, taking us off of Twitter, taking us off of Instagram, taking us off of, YouTube and every single platform, trying to silence our voice, trying to get rid of our First Amendment right, leaking our tax returns, raiding Mar-a-Lago, raiding Melania's room, raiding, Barron's room. They did everything they could to destroy us. And then they tried to kill my father in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then they tried to kill my father again in Palm Beach. And then they killed Charlie Kirk, and they shot, Steve Scalise, who's a friend of ours, another Republican figurehead. They tried to kill, Kavanaugh, as you know better than anyone. They attacked Kavanaugh. They made up the most unthinkable things about him. I could continue to go. I could go on and on with how they put our family under siege. But Doug, they weren't just putting us under siege. They were putting you under siege, right? They were putting every independent, non-controlled voice under siege. They were putting every person listening to us under siege, right? They were going after their ministers, and they were weaponizing the IRS against their churches, and they were weaponizing the IRS against them, and they were taking away their voice, and they were silencing them and turning down the dials on their social media platforms, and they were going after their families, and they were jumping over qualified people who were about to get jobs because of DEI and because
Catholics.
They wanted to rewrite the rules. They were prosecuting Catholics, and they were prosecuting people who didn't want revisionist history taught to their children, and people who were fundamentally against them allowing their 5-year-old boy or daughter to choose where they were on a gendrum spectrum in the classroom. And I mean, they did this to all of us, and the American people spoke out. We might have been the tip of the spear, and we might have been the people that they were coming after in a macro way as they weaponized every aspect of the DOJ, of the FBI, of the Biden administration, of Letitia James, of Alvin Bragg, of Jack Smith, as they planted files at Mar-a-Lago and then made up the fact that they had classified folders. And I mean, they tried to kill us in every way, shape, or form. Then they physically tried to kill my father twice. Then they killed Charlie Kirk. I'm watching blood come out of the neck of a dear friend of mine. They put our country under siege, and somebody had to tell the real story. And the book comes out on Tuesday, and I promise you, I promise you it is going to ruffle some of their feathers, and they deserve to have their feathers ruffled because, honestly, they are the most dishonest, set of criminals in the history of this country, what they tried to do. But thankfully, America spoke, and we all won. Every single person listening to us right now, you won, we all won. We're saving this country right now. Great things are happening to the United States of America. We're restoring freedom. We're restoring God. We're restoring our Constitution. We're restoring red, white, and blue. You no longer have Colin Kaepernick and all these people kneeling for the national anthem, and the women's soccer teams, Olympic soccer teams, turning their backs when they raise, the American flag. We have our country back. We have our family unit back. We have our Constitution back. We have the respect around the world. And I couldn't have been more proud to be part of that fight. So that's Under Siege, and that's why the book is doing so well. And it's a hell of a story. And I encourage everybody, go buy a copy. Go to Amazon right now, buy a copy, and let your voice be heard. Because honestly, this is a referendum against these criminals. Make no mistake. It's a referendum against the criminals who tried to destroy us as they intended to destroy the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amazon.com, Under Siege, the Eric Trump new book. Please, really, head over there. Eric, in the closing couple of minutes that we have here with each other, what, as you, with the particular set of glasses that you have based on the hindsight of everything that you've been through, and I know, I hear you, America is back, America first, strength, peace through strength. What's the nugget? What do we do? How do we really assure ourselves? Because, for example, I like J.D. Vance. I'm hoping that he is the heir apparent and we might have the 12-year presidency of a Republican in office, if your dad decides not to run in 2028. But I hope that we can do that. I think that the sheer ignorance of the radical left and their incapability to self-reflect on what they've done, instead they double down on the transgender myth and everything else, the most radical leftist pairing in our country's history with Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. It almost makes me think the presidency wasn't their ultimate goal, but they want to continue to push the needle in this country, politically and socially, as far to the left as possible.
Well, listen, I don't think I've ever heard it said better than what you said. Their lack of ability to self-reflect. Listen, I'm a business guy. I run a very big company. Obviously, I run every aspect of the Trump organization. And, if something's not going right, you can self-reflect and say, you know what, we could have done this better. We could have done this a little bit differently, right? And you do that every day. As a business leader, you do that every day. I Tampon Tim. You just mentioned Tim Walz, Tampon Tim. Shocking that, a guy who wants to put tampons in boys' bathrooms in Minnesota gets zero support. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that, the first person to drop out of the 2020 Democratic primaries was Kamala Harris with zero support? Yeah. Maybe we don't want to do that again, where we take the person who has zero support, and overthrow government, overthrow Joe Biden and put this person, in place. Maybe you wanted to go to the person who had the most support or the second most support, right? As opposed to just subverting democracy and putting in some DEI pick that clearly no one liked, because if people liked her, she would have done a hell of a lot better in the 2020 primaries, right? But there is no self-reflection. Guess what? Maybe people really are upset that every illegal immigrant is getting free healthcare in this country, coming across the border, filling our kids' schools, taking a lot of resources, that could have been used for our own citizens. Maybe we don't want to die on that hill. Maybe we should have closed borders. Maybe we should actually have a process. Maybe we don't want to fight against fentanyl coming into this country. Maybe we don't want to fight against guys Eric Trump size, again, swimming in collegiate women's, swimming. Maybe we don't want to fight against these, and maybe we should focus on things that actually matter to people. And yet they're incapable of doing this. You had Barack Obama, who couldn't even say good job, Donald Trump, when he solved peace in the Middle East 2 nights ago. It's madness. It's madness. They are on the wrong side of every single issue, and we're on the right side of every single issue. We're on the right side of God. We're on the right side of the Constitution. We're on the right side of, respect for America, which we demand from other countries, especially when we do so much for all. And yet, what do? They push communist tendencies. You see that in New York City right now with Mondami. They push defunding of police agencies all across the country. They push anti-Semitic rhetoric all over the place. They try and remove God from our schools and our lives and every aspect of society. I don't know. Maybe a little self-reflection would be a good thing, but they're incapable of self-reflection.
And they dare to suggest that children, in order to be happy, should mutilate their genitalia. Barbaric language, but it needs to be said. That's what they advocate. It's absolutely barbaric. And Tim Walz, you mentioned him, the poster man for the wussification of the American male, ladies and gentlemen. That's him. Eric, listen, thank you. Thank you very much for responding to my call and coming on the show. We wish you the best with your book, Under Siege. Ladies and gentlemen, Amazon.com, head over there, please. Eric, I might just mail you a copy. Maybe you'll sign it for me, and we'll
mail me a copy. I'll definitely sign it for you. And
I'm gonna pick it up. And thank you again. I know you've got to run. Thanks for coming on the right side.
Great to be on, Doug.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Trump. What a deal, and what a day to have a member of the Trump family on. I'll be right back after we take this little break. into the land of capitalism. Stay with me. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings, the Real Talk Radio Network. Wow. That doesn't happen every day, does it? It's not every day that you get to talk with Eric Trump for about 20 minutes. Yep. What a guy. Gosh, can you imagine what they've all been through? I cannot imagine what they've been through as a family. Thank God for President Trump's stamina, his resilience. It's incredible. And I obviously we pray for them every day. We hope that they remain safe. But Eric, just a genuinely nice guy, like his dad. I've met President Trump a couple of times, had the opportunity to speak with him at Mar-a-Lago, and, looks at you right in the eye. He looks with the intent to understand as opposed with the intent to respond. You know the difference? You can just tell, right? People who are listening to you, who are just waiting to respond to you, they're not listening to understand you. Well, President Trump does that. Eric Trump does that. And just some of the genuinely most gifted, most courteous kids that I've met. And President Trump, great sense of humor, by the way, a great sense. He loves Elvis. President Trump loves Elvis. In his first term, he gave Elvis the American Medal of Freedom, posthumously, obviously, but he gave that to him. And I get a kick out of watching him at dinner. He has his iPad in front of him, and Mar-a-Lago is a golf club. There are people around having dinner. He's in the midst of all of that, and we're at a table not too far away, and he's got his iPad out, and he's playing disc jockey. He's the one that's selecting the music that's on the speakers. It's just hilarious, and just a whole nother look to a guy who is not given a fair shake, and an image in the mainstream that is not at all that which is reality behind in real life. So thanks to Eric. Please do check out his book, Under Siege, Amazon.com. And I'm sure that you'll see not only the audacity of what the radical left did, but there'll be snippets of information about what we do now. How do we respond? What are we supposed to be doing here? And it'll be a good book. I have not read it. I'm going to go out. It'll be available Tuesday. So we will see. So thank you for him. Thank you for all of it. And if you missed Eric, don't worry. You can rewatch. I'll post this. It'll be up on all of the Real Talk Radio Network outlets on social media. I'll put it up on my newly restored YouTube channel that was taken down in 2020 and finally for 4 years out of YouTube jail. So I'll have the show up on that channel. The channel is Welcome to the Right Side, Doug Billings. Look me up on YouTube, and you'll see the Eric Trump interview over there as well. A great week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Real Talk Radio Network. Thank you for supporting every one of the people who work here, either behind the microphone or in the production booth. Zach, thank you today for being with me for the duration. Fish, if you're out there anywhere listening, thank you for your support as well. Rick and Tracy, obviously, thanks. It's been a great first week. Can't wait to see this thing develop. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are in this thing together, every one of us. Determined patriotism. We march forward. We don't recoil from tragedy, adversity, and challenge in this country. We march forward. We're in it together. We're in it for the Republic and for each other. Believe it, my friends. Have a great weekend. God bless you. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.